These are notes from Tuesday for college algebra. We started looking at 1.5, solving quadratic equations. So the first half of this page at the top, I don't know how really honestly useful it is. I mean, it's important, but it's really just rules that make the situation possible. But the big thing that hopefully gets your attention is this term right there causes this to be quadratic, which makes us not be able to solve it like say a linear equation without an exponent. So since we have an x squared, we got to get creative with how we solve it. And hopefully this is some review, because hopefully you solve things like this in Algebra 2. So I'm going to scroll on down, and this is the important stuff. So we're going to look at 4 different methods. Today, in this video, we're going to look at 2, solving by factoring and solving by the square root method. So maybe jot those 4 steps down, maybe pause it, and then I'm going to solve. All right, here we go. So 1A. Step 1, move everything to one side, or another way, maybe your teacher in the past said set everything equal to 0. Step 1 is done on 1A, right? Okay, step 2. Factor, is there a GCF? And it looks like there's a factor of 2 in both terms, and at least 1x. So I can take a 2x out. And then we ask ourselves what's left. So in other words, 2x times what would give me 4x squared? 2x. 2x times what would give me negative 2x? Negative 1. And I don't see any more exponents, like we don't have anything squared. There's no more factoring to be done. So move on to step 3. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So we create too many equations. There's one. There's another. And you solve for x. So on that first one, divide both sides by 2, and you still have 0. And that second one, add 1 to the other side, divide by 2, and we have 1/2. So we're practically done. The last step, you're supposed to check your solutions. That's up to you. I'm not going to grade that part. But if you skip that step, you risk a no solution. So you want to plug in your answers and make sure they check out. If they don't check out, then you cross that solution out. So for example, if I plug in 0, that one's easy in your head. 0 minus 0. That checks out. Let's test 1/2. Plug in 1/2. And I know 1/2 squared is 1/4. I'm going to go up, sorry. And 2 times 1/2 is 1. Whoops, not an equal sign. And 4 times 1/4 is 1. I end up with 1 minus 1 equals 0. So that one checks out also, and we're done. Once again, checking your solutions, that's up to you. If you want to do it all on the calculator, do it in your head. I am only looking at like the red writing on this problem. All right, let's tackle B. Actually, I almost started factoring first, but we need to move everything to one side. So by one side, I mean this is not 0. And look at what I underlined up here. I need a 0 on one side. So let's move 4 over. And now I have a 0. And we have a tough one to factor. Some people are having a hard time with this. I'm going to write that 4 a little smaller. It's gigantic. We have a number out front, right here, and this complicates things. Some of y'all do a great job of just factoring it in your head. This one's not that bad. 2x times x gives me 2x squared. And then I need two numbers here that multiply to -4. So you can play around with those numbers, but careful, the inner and the outer have to add up to 7x. So if you can do that in your head, go for it. It's not that hard. It just takes practice. But let's do it another way. I like this way. The student showed this to me. So you multiply the first number times the last number. And you get -8. I need two numbers that multiply to -8, but add to 7. So 8 and -1 will get that done. All right, then you take the two numbers you found and you make them into a fraction. You take the lead number, that 2, and you put it under the two numbers you found. You got to reduce, and it'll work. That right fraction is done. I know it factors like this. You put the denominator next to x and the numerator by itself. This one we got to reduce. Pretty easy though. 4/1. So that would be 1x plus 4. And that's what we were hoping for over here. Maybe I should go back to red. All right, I hope that made sense. Rewind it, watch it over and over again. It'll click. It is a very nice method to use. All right, I'm going to erase, make some room. We're almost done with this one. So we have factored. Now I set each factor equal to 0. We're on step 3 right now. Move that 1 over. We did this over on the other one. Move the 1 over and we get 1/2. Move the 4 over and we get -4. Let's plug in and make sure it all checks out. So I plug in 1/2. And 1/2 squared is 1/4. 2 times 1/4 is 1/2. Plus 7/2. And I get 8/2, which is 4. Checks out. I wanted 4, right? So 1/2 is a solution. Now let's test -4. So plug in -4. And I get 16 times 2, so 32 minus 28. That looks like 4. That checks out. I'm all done. All right, hopefully that made sense. Let's talk about the square root method. Write down those 3 steps. This one is one that I bet you're very familiar with. You've been probably doing this since Algebra 1. And on Tuesday, we only did 2A, so I'm going to stop there. So we need to get x squared isolated. I need this to be all by itself. So let's divide both sides by 4. And that one little step, and we are so close to done. Actually, I'm going to scoot that 5 over. All right, we square root both sides to get rid of the x squared. But if I create that square root symbol, I got to make sure I write plus minus. And then I'm pretty much done. Plug in your answers, make sure they work. So I plug in square root of 5, and that is 4 times 5, which is 20. It works. Plug in negative square root of 5, and we go negative times a negative. We get 4 times 5 again. That's 20. So we're all good. All right, hopefully that made sense. We'll practice more on Thursday. See you in class.